Hey, hey, party people in the place to be. It's Blag the Ripper, and I'm back with songs and lyrics. I got my friend Doug Dalton in the place to be. Now, Doug is a prominent entrepreneur and club owner here in San Francisco. He runs a bunch of different bars. Throw me some names out
like
here.
Bourbon and Branch, Rick House, Local Edition, Pagan Idol, Zombie Village.
So all kinds of places.
The New Dawn Club.
And what I wanted to talk to Doug about, we did another episode where we talked about songs we love and different guys we love, but I wanted to get into a little different bag here and kind of put him on the spot because, I don't really hang out at clubs a lot. I don't know if you've seen how I dress, Doug, but it doesn't really work at the club too
Right.
great. And, you're out there running these clubs, but a lot of them they're not what I would call dance clubs and stuff like that. They're more like social, people hanging out downtown. But you have a much better window into what's happening in the clubs musically than me. And we were talking about, guys like Mickey Avalon and Dirt Nasty and that sort of first generation of like young, snotty white kids and how that struck the club. But there's kind of a new crowd now, and I want to force myself to be exposed to this. So I was wondering if you'd run this experiment with me, Doug.
Sure.
Just bear with me on this. I want to go down the line, and I want you to name some people, and then I want to stop, listen, and then just let's give our first impression of what we're hearing on this, because this kind of music, what they call kind of SoundCloud rappers, or like, you know what I mean, which kind of started, I think, with Post Malone and guys like that, is, for me, as an old man, I hear these guys, and I just immediately go, wow, this is terrible. Like, this is a bad version of hip-hop, bad version of club, person can't sing, can't rap. What is it? Is it just the immediacy of this is a young person, his tattoos are similar to me, therefore I like him, that's bringing these people in? Or is there something musical that I'm missing? So let's start with Post Malone. Let's just, whatever the biggest Post Malone thing that comes out. And obviously he's huge now, but I have not yet heard anything by him that I find even remotely fucking pleasurable. But let's just stop the tape, go to some Post Malone, and then let's come back in and see what we discovered.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we just heard Circles by Post Malone. This is an enormous hit now. And this is kind of an example of exactly what I'm talking about. Like, this is just the worst kind of easy listening bullshit to me. And yet, there's always this element of like, well, I'm still kind of young and I want my cred and I got a tat on my face. So even though I'm singing the most milky fucking weak hook, I'm still gonna act like, yeah, yo, hey, yo, I'm from the street, yo, and it's real sad out here. And I'm just sitting there like, motherfucker, you know what I mean? Like, this to me is just the worst kind of combination of like, the softest elements of pop music with like no musical ability behind it. I don't know. I found this song infuriating.
Right. Well, I didn't think it was that bad, but I tend to lean towards some. I love Britpop, so
Right.
I don't have a problem with some soft, sappy music like the 1975s and stuff like that.
Right.
But one of the things...
Maybe I should play some in 1975. Everybody's talking about them, too. I get a take on that.
The 1975s are... The lead singer is maybe not the friendliest person in the world.
Right.
But yeah, it's one of the things I think about this SoundCloud group that we were talking about before is I had no idea. So the top 7 people who were discovered by putting music on SoundCloud,
Right.
were
Give me the names and let's listen to them one at a time.
Kaylani. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Probably not. Kygo, which is huge. I'm shocked that he was discovered on there. Lizzo, Bryson Tiller.
Hey, Lizzo has some fucking killer tracks. To me, like tracks that sound so good. And she's got that Bruno Mars aspect where it could have been a hit in the 80s or the 90s or right now.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Lizzo has delivered some.
Yeah.
Man or woman to pump me up. Feeling fussy, walking in my Balenciennes, trying to bring out the fabulous. Cause I give a fuck way too much. I'ma need like 2 shots in my cup. Wanna get up, wanna get down. That's how I feel right now. Oh, I've been so down and under pressure.
But like found on SoundCloud, so she just probably put that up.
Yeah, I don't hate you just because you're on SoundCloud, but what I hate is this whole Post Malone thing, because I've been hearing this guy for a while, and he was like the original guy they found up there, and it just seems like you fit the suit, buddy. You had a tat on your face. Then I listened to an interview with him with Howard Stern, and he's one of these guys. You know, Howard's kissing his ass, and you know, because anybody who's famous, Howard's okay with, and it's like he asks him, "Well, how'd you learn to play guitar?" And the guy says with a straight face, "Well, it was Guitar Hero."
Yeah,
it's like, motherfucker, you don't learn to play guitar. Guitar Hero, dude. Of course you suck.
Well, that or like Nirvana. Kurt Cobain knew 3 chords, and he was like, "That's all I know how to play."
Yeah, but that's different. He was a songwriter. He wrote those songs. He's being modest. I mean, those tracks and those vocal melodies are strong. That shit I just listened to me, is the worst kind of like the producer had a soft track, you went in and mumbled over it, and people love it because they like your face tat, fool. Right. What was the other song that you were saying by Post Malone that you like? Let's listen to that one quick, and then we'll move off him.
I don't know if I know. I don't even know if I know it. I was just saying the one that discovered him was in 2015. It was called White Inversion.
Okay.
And that was the one that made him so popular.
Let's take a look.
I got me some braids and I got me some hoes. Started rocking the sleeve, I can't buy with no jaws. You know how I do it, can close on my toes. This shit is hard. Ooh. I ain't rich yet, but you know I ain't broke. So if I see it, I like it, buy that from the store. I'm with some white girls and they love them to coca. Like they OT, double OT, like I'm KG, smoking OG. And you know me, and my 2 3s and my gold tee. Bet you're smiling, bet you see me from the nosebleed. I'm the new 3 and I change out to my new D. White Iverson. When I started balling, I was young.
Yeah. So first of all, I got to make fun of Doug. White Inversion? No. White Iverson. He's
I don't have my readers on like
player.
you do.
But it's anyway. I'm hating this fucking song. I mean, it's the worst kind of wigger bullshit where, you know, people go, yo, I'm up in that time, yo, I'm on it, yo, I'm street, I'm this and I'm that. And it's just like, it just kills me. It just hits me the wrong way. I mean, it's just weak. And, you know, there's only so much I can say about it because it's like it combines these two things that just don't work for me. One is fake street bullshit where you're talking about what you got and what you're going to do when you're obviously just some guy in your room, you know, when you're not a baller and you're not a gangster, but you're fronting and talking this bullshit. And then on the other side, it's all couched in this very Casio keyboard heavy kind of, you know, I love pop music and keyboards are wonderful. I'm all about it. But there's this certain kind of new lazy approach to pop, which is just like, let's just hit a chord. There's so little movement in the vocal melody or anything that, you know, I don't call it pop. I mean, people think that it's pop and it sells a lot. So by definition, I guess it's pop. But I'm hearing this shit and it's really, to me, you know, and again, I'll always repeat, maybe it's just a generational thing. Maybe old folks like me just don't get it. But this guy, to me, it sounds like the reason he appeals to this generation so much, Post Malone, is because he's lazy and untalented. And they relate to that. The idea of not working hard at it. You know, that whole Paris Hilton idea of like, I'm famous for already being famous. You know, I'm big for already being big. I didn't try hard. That's part of what's cool about me. If I was trying hard, I'd be whack and some dick that's trying to be something. But I'm not trying to be anything.
Right.
Very appalling to me. What do you think of that track, Dave?
It's first of all, it's Doug.
I'm looking right at you. I've known you for 20 years. Hi, Dave.
You want to give me a hard time about inversion versus Iverson, and can't even get the right name. All right, but anyway, so one of the things I think about this is I'm always impressed with I mean, you call it like phoning it in music or soft rock, but you know. The guy is he just headlined Bottle Rock, and last year he headlined Outside Land. So he's got a following, and maybe it's spoon fed to like the masses, but he put it out on SoundCloud, probably from his home, probably using Pro Tools or some sort of free app like Guitar, whatever that stock app that comes on Macs is, and right. He learned how to play
GarageBand.
Yeah, GarageBand. Sorry, and so something like that, and that's pretty. I think that's impressive. And I watched the documentary on Lil Peep because I was hungover one day, and I was like, "Fine, I'll watch it." And
we better check out Lil Peep.
Yeah, so he's another SoundCloud rapper that became huge and became a model in Paris and OD'd in the back of his van. And
is that right? He's dead now?
Yeah, he's dead.
Oh, well, tough shit, Lil Peep. Yeah. Smarten up.
Yeah, so he OD'd in the back of his tour bus outside of a club that he was supposed to be playing or after he's playing. But I
don't know who told people you could do drugs and just escape. I've been doing drugs my whole fucking life, and I always knew, man, you could die. It's fucking heavy shit, and it's like everybody wants a free pass. But you don't get a free pass.
But I saw the app, the GarageBand. He was using a GarageBand app or some app on his iPhone, right. And he plugged in a mic and then he had another friend, a little mixer and a mic, and he and some friends were in a hostel with 100 people doing drugs around them, and they recorded a song that became a top 10 hit,
right? Just
off of their iPhone and a drum beat and some.
Yeah, so this is a conversation we need to have. And we're going to go and listen to Lil Peep later, but I
can't say that, girl. Don't tell me you could say that shit. All she want is payback for the way I always play that shit. You ain't getting nothing that I'm saying. Don't tell me you nothing like them other motherfuckers. I could make you rich. I could make you this, baby. I could make you that. I could take you there, but baby, you won't make it back. Growing sick of this and I don't wanna make you sad. Do I make you scared? Baby, won't you take me back? Nothing like them other motherfuckers. I could make you rich.
So I have a few feelings about this, right? Number one, I love the just, you know, early hip hop, early punk rock immediacy feel of what you just described. Right. They're in a hostel, they're living their lives, they're using what they got. It happens to be an iPhone and a mic, and they make a track. I love that. I fucking love that. That is rock and roll at its essence, and I dig it. That's hip hop at its essence.
Right.
I'm a fan of that. But I also, you know, the proof is in the pudding. If you make something great like that, I'm for it. If you make something whack like that, it's like, well, okay, you could have made it with a fucking Etch-a-Sketch too. It doesn't matter. If I don't like it, I don't like it. But I'm curious about what you said earlier, because this is a big, this is a thing with me, because I have jealousy issues that have come from my life in the music industry.
You're jealous again. No, she's just a friend. Why can't I do anything without being yelled at? Always on the phone. Never leave me alone.
And I'm not shy about it. I think jealousy is a very underrated emotion.
Sure.
Right? I mean, where does justice come from? It comes from jealousy, right? One group of people gets to vote, another group of people aren't allowed to vote. They're jealous of that. They think it's wrong. And
Right.
and what do you get? You know, you get justice from that. You get people saying, wait a minute, this isn't fair. This isn't right. You know,
Right.
yes, you feel jealous. I mean, it's one thing when, you know, a girl likes Doug and then another guy likes that girl and then he gets jealous. That's a bad kind of jealousy.
Right.
But the jealousy of like, hey man, you know, we're both working hard, but you get everything and I get nothing, is a form of jealousy that I'm pretty comfortable with and have had to grapple with a lot of my life. But I know I try and rein it in because I know that it's not a great way to go through your life. You don't want to be eating yourself alive. And you don't want to feel like, fuck, I didn't do what I wanted to do. I want to wake up and feel like, hey, I basically lived the life I wanted. I did what I wanted. I played the music I wanted, you know. But at the same time, you know, I was at the same label as Kurt Cobain. I was at the same label as The Offspring.
Yeah.
I played at the same club as Green Day. And when you see people take off, it's hard. I mean, we had a tragedy this week. Blackie from Urge Overkill died. Those guys were very close friends of mine. I was so happy for them when they got their deal. I thought nobody deserved it more. But I couldn't suppress some jealousy. It was hard for me.
What's the matter with you? You've been down all day. What happened to you? Make you feel that way? Baby, ain't that a shame when they call you a name? Dropping out from school, guess it wasn't so cool. Everyone needs some space to breathe. All the time we have been blind, so blind. Yeah, we just couldn't see it. Yeah, you're too old to cry, too young to die. What happens in the in-between? Don't you think it's strange? Things just change. It's just a burned out town, it's a burned out scene. You've been a dropout ever since you've been 17. Lonely child.
I just sit there and watch everybody I knew get a big record deal.
Well, there was another guy that I found out through talking to you about like my favorite bands of the 80s, which was you were very close to Material Issue.
Yeah.
And Material Issue had an incredibly huge hit and they were skyrocketing to fame and he was miserably depressed and so I mean
Jim Ellison, great guy, great friend. We should play a track of Material Issue. I really love Jim. And yeah.
I was riding around with the radio up and the windows down. I took a minute or two to think about all my problems. Riding in this van, playing in this band, you know it's bringing me down. But I pop back up when the pretty blue lights come on. It's an international bump, overthrow. International bump, overthrow. It's an international bump, overthrow. International bump, overthrow. And all these other boys are just making noise and it's no rock and roll. They just need someone to have their picture taken with.
And that's the thing, you know, I was kind of ashamed of myself after some of these casualties, Cobain and these different people, because I felt like, wow, man, you know, you gave in to your jealousy, and yet these people had their demons. And, you know, I guess it's that sort of Eastern philosophy view of, you know, life is suffering. We all have our cross to bear. And so I don't want to look at these guys who are young and doing good and say, oh, I'm jealous of you. I don't like you. You did this. Not like, I want to like it. I want to like it.
But did you ever have this like feeling? So when I was really young and in high school, all my buddies were super into Fugazi. DC band, native,
Sure.
as I mentioned previously, from DC.
Right.
Everybody loved this band.
Yeah.
And they loved them so much that I just started to dislike them. I'd never
Just for
heard
that
them,
reason, yeah.
But it was just
Well, they
people
came from Minor Threat. So
Yeah.
there was love for them from there. Yeah.
Right. So it was very funny when I went to DC with Garza once, and he's like, "Hey man, you want to sit down with my friends?" And I'm like, "Sure." And I like sit down with his friends, and he's like, "I'm gonna get drinks, and we'll come over to the table." I'm like, "Cool." So I sit down, and I'm like, "Hey, what do you guys do? How do you know Rob?" And they're like, "Well, you know, we're Fugazi." And I'm like, "Great." Never really listened to your music because of some weird high school thing where
Right.
all my friends liked your music and I didn't listen to it. I
Right.
did not feel like this was the time and place to explain that. But now I'm sitting across and all my friends from high school would have been like, "Oh my God, you're sitting across from Fugazi."
Right.
And I'm like, still don't know if I like your music.
Yeah, I too, and that's sort of another form. It's not really so much jealousy, but it's just more like, oh God, I've been oversaturated with
Yeah.
this. I just don't even want to think about this. And then all of a sudden, years later, you listen to it and you go, oh, I really actually like this. Just happened to me the other day with Adele.
Uh-huh.
I had never heard Rumor Has It, and I was like, I love this song. This is great. You know why? Because I heard so much Adele, and most of it was just her crying.
Right.
And I just didn't want to fucking hear it. And then all of a sudden, 15 years after this track's come out, I hear Rumor Has It. I'm like, I love this. Who is it? You know what I mean? I mean, it happens. And, you know, yeah, we people are kind of ashamed to talk about the emotions they have with music, but it's kind of like music brings out emotions, both good and bad.
Right.
You know, and jealousy sort of has different sides to it. And part of mine just has to do with the experiences I had in the music industry. And it wasn't the time. See, I was always pretty easy with it when I loved the other band's music. Mm-hmm. I couldn't allow myself to be jealous of the Beastie Boys because I loved what they did.
Right.
It was when I didn't really like a band's music, they got popular. And also, personally, it would be when I felt like, but I did something good that people who like that should have liked what I did. It sounded kind of similar. This happened a lot with the pop punk bands where I'd be
Right.
like, but I had a pop punk jam and it was pretty similar to that. And like, what, you had to hate mine and love theirs? Like, why? You know? But of course, this is the unfair nature of existence. We don't get guaranteed that people are going to love you or you're going to make money or things are going to be nice, you know?
Well, my admin at my first job, so when I worked at Netscape, one of my favorite moments was her husband, her then ex-husband, had managed Smashmouth, and
band I was close with.
Yeah, and so Smashmouth, as you know, had many incarnations. Like before they were in like one of those like Cherry Poppin' Daddies type bands.
They were like a cover band, and when they did that first record with Eric Valentine, it was mostly ska.
Yeah,
but "Walking on the Sun" was kind of the surprise hit. They used the Dwarves keyboard in there.
Oh wow!
And so I knew those guys, and I watched that happen. And you're right, they were like a cover band from San Jose. There was a lot of hatred pushed at those dudes.
Well, because I mean, it did feel like even she would say this now. She said like, every other week they would come into the studio and they'd have a new sound. Like they were like they were like just taking throwing a dartboard at like genres of music that were popular at the time and trying to hit one.
Yes,
because they were literally
came from that cover band vibe.
Yeah, so they just they were like, I don't know, what do you think's cool now? And so then they were like wearing their like bowling jackets,
right? Doing all
slick back hair, and like they were doing the Cherry Poppin' Daddies thing, and then like
like the '90s swing thing.
Yeah, the swing thing, and then they left that because it didn't go anywhere. And then the next things they did was like, well.
Number one, have some fun. That's the rule of the road. Lois Lane, Mary Jane, we may never get home. Arlene, Annette, Angelina, making a scene in a green comedy. Just kiss it goodbye on the fly. Alibi, leave her wondering why. Yeah, I threw her away and I crave yesterday. Now that she's gone, she turns me on. She turns me on. The star was wild like millionaires. My savoir faire got everywhere. It was nothing but a
There was that punk ska phase that hit San Jose huge, and it was like Op Ivy and like Rancid and obviously
no doubt.
Yeah, no doubt.
What wound up happening there, and I was just happened to be privy to this, I don't know if this is exactly right, but the vibe I got at the time was that Walking on the Sun was kind of an outlier. They didn't really know how to play it or what to do with it, and that turned out to be a great advantage. Eric Valentine had just started working with them, and it was kind of like, that was the first one where Greg Camp kind of went to Eric and was like, I don't really know what to do with this. I haven't really even given it to the band. And that allowed Eric, who is like master producer, to make the drums, make the bass, make the track, could construct it. Greg, who was the songwriter, had conceived of this thing. And then from there, it just sounded like a hit. So there was this very strange phenomenon. And again, I could be wrong about this, but the way I remember it at the time was that Interscope was so hot on Walking on the Sun, they just said, this is a single. We have to put this out tomorrow. And then they heard the rest of the record and it was like, what the fuck is this? know, but it didn't matter because that track was just destined to be a hit. In fact, we got to play that motherfucker right now.
Yeah.
So don't delay, act now, supplies are running out. Allow if you're still alive, 6 to 8 years to arrive. And if you follow them, be out tomorrow. But if we off the shun, you might as well be walking on the sun.
One thing that I'm trying to think of the name of this documentary. It was called The Boiler Room or something like that. That's not it, but that was.
Oh, okay. You're talking about the Wrecking Crew. So the Wrecking Crew,
yes.
That's like LA session guys, played on everything from Beach Boys and just hit after hit after hit. I mean, sick amounts of hit. Carol Kay on bass, great pioneering female bass player. drummer's name is escaping me, but it shouldn't. He's a legend and amazing. I'll find him. He has solo hits as well.
But that documentary was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And one of the things that is just amazing to me is like listening to a couple of the songs that before they got a hold of the song. So they would have the demo track, and they're like, here's what we're trying. Here's like, I think Aretha Franklin was one of the groups that played with Wrecking Crew, but like maybe Tina Turner was one, but like they had their original song, and like the Beach Boys, and the song sounded like definitely not a hit before they came in, and after the Wrecking Crew like worked their magic on a song, like it was, you were like, how could this not be a hit? And it was everything from just like a certain drum beat to like a certain like pause or drop in a song, and it was just phenomenal. And they were like in such high demand because you talk about Post Malone or something like that, you put like him in that room with like some drippy sappy song and they could make it sound amazing.
Well, you've hit on a very interesting thing about modern music. And that's really, rock and roll is dead. And the reason it's dead is because rock and roll is a very homemade operation. Everything in it has to hit. So the drummer in the rock band has to be good and able to play a hit drum beat, and the bass player needs to be good and able to play a hit bass part, and the person writing the songs has to be good and be able to write a song. It's such a high bar and so difficult to get to. There's almost no rock bands that can do it. The process you're describing is production.
Yeah.
And hip hop understands that. So with hip hop, the track is already made. Right. So before the Post Malone or whoever goes in there, somebody's made a track and it sounds a certain way, and it's already closer to being a hit than most rock bands ever get, right? Because it's not a homemade operation like that. Things like the Wrecking Crew were perfect for, you'd have a great singer, and then she's not pretending to be a rock band. Right. She's a great singer. So if someone who's a great songwriter writes a great song, and then they hand it to the Wrecking Crew, right, you're going to be able to make something good. I think that's why that deconstructed way of looking at music has survived, and hip hop survives, and dance music survives, and even country music utilizes the same thing. Separate songwriters, separate session musicians, and then a person to come in and sing. Rock and roll just can't compete, because if any element in the rock and roll band is not there, you lose. If your drummer just sucks and can't really play, which is the case in most rock bands, you're not going to have a song that sounds like a hit. And that guy's not going to step aside for the good of the band and make a hit track. He's going to go, but I'm the drummer. Right. I get to play drums on this. And then, okay, you got your shitty drums on your shitty rock song.
Right.
Which I guess should bring us back to Lil Peep. Why don't we take a break and listen to some Lil Peep, and I'll come back and hopefully not shit on it too much. Let's see what happens.
Whip it like a NASCAR, I can see the time pass. Feel like I'm in high school, fucking me in gym class. Shorty, I remember that, I know you remember that. You was fucking with me way before I even wrote raps. Now I'm seeing cash flow, I could be an asshole, yeah I know. But it's all good. Shorty look like a porn star. I know she love me cause she fucked me in her sports car. I pull up on her, tell her that we finna go far. Drop top, smoking thrax, looking at the stars. Getting high, taking bars till we on Mars. I could make the ground move like I'm Avatar. Now I'm
say that. All right, so we heard Gym Class by Lil Peep.
And one other one.
Yeah, we also listened to Save That Shit, which was a little more recent, and I was really appalled by that one. This Gym Class one drew me in a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I think it was because I felt some honesty in it. I felt, that it certainly has that new mumble rap, we're not trying very hard vibe. But again, I think that's very important for this generation to feel that way.
Right.
And so that's sort of the price of admission to be a big rapper, from this era. I guess it's from 6-7 years ago.
Yeah. Well, one of the things, though, that I would say is that Gym Class song had very distinct, almost mimicry of Blink-182.
Right.
Like it just felt...
Nobody loves you when you're 23.
Almost identically. Like you can hear that same, like almost the drops in the pitch that are that same harmonic, like pop punk era SoCal rock.
Yes.
And I feel like there was a little bit of that in there as well, which I thought was really kind of interesting that they it had that kind of weird 20-something innocent, like I want my girlfriend from gym class, and like I want to like feel like important to her.
Yes.
And that like all the small things from Blink 182.
Yeah, I got the feeling that this seemed sincere.
Yeah.
And that gets some points with me. I guess the two things that I would say are this in terms of criticism. One, I can see why a rapper like a Kendrick Lamar or an Eminem would just necessarily have to diss someone like this, because their rhyming skills are at such a low level that they can only repeat the same little melody as opposed to coming up with the infinite number of different ways of cutting up a beat that a guy like Lamar or Eminem comes up with. Like them or not, there's just so much solid technical skill. And when these guys go,
maybe you should start a mumble rock band.
Yeah, it's
mumble rap band.
I mean, and again, I hesitate because I'm the guy from the Dwarves, and we have a lot of simple chord progressions, and there's plenty of people who would say, dude, all you did was stamp out a bunch of simple-ass chord progressions that anybody could have written, and my response is, yeah, but you didn't write them, and we've created a certain thing out of it. So you could say the same thing with this kind of rap, but just if it, this widely speaking fits in with hip hop, backpack rap, whatever. And that would be my comment about it. If you want to do this kind of lo-fi hip hop, it would be more interesting to me if you could cut it up and do all kinds of things within it instead of just repeating that same thing over and over.
But one thing that I want to say about like the early stuff of Lil Peep versus like the later where it sounded a lot harder. I feel like, when people are vulnerable in early music and then they get dissed really hard and told that they're not like hard, and they like have the tats and they like look tough, but they're just really just soft people and they're just emotional, and that's what got them there. They tend to try and be hard later instead of sticking with that. So like even when you listen to Post Malone, like his early stuff is very like sappy and vulnerable, and then later he's trying to be hard because he doesn't want to come up against some hard band at a festival and feel like he's like a
you
wuss.
think there's a reaction there.
Yeah. And so I feel like people do that. So like we talked about previously, the streets, one of the big things is he would get in beefs, like people would start fights with him all the time because he did rap about like kind of being a loser at a bar, and and they're like, you're just like, other bands like big rap bands would come up and be like, you're just a fucking loser, dude. And and you got success after like promoting how big of a loser you are. And I don't care who you are, that hurts your feelings. So he eventually I think he just stopped making music because he was just like, I don't want to change who I am or what I'm doing, but I also can't take this beratement from like these other
people are cruel, aren't they?
Yeah, well,
here I am criticizing things, and I'm a very hypercritical person, and I do feel bad about it sometimes. I feel like I'm very thick-skinned. I come from an Italian family. I grew up in punk bands. I grew up in the 80s, 90s.
Right.
So I can take it. You fucking hit me, and I come back. You hit me, and I'm okay with it. You shout at me, I'll still do business with you. But I deal with people all the time where it's like, fuck you, Blag. You shouted, or you got mad, or you had an insult. And so I just can never deal with you again. And I always think, okay, that's pretty soft, but I get it. That's how some people are operating. When these guys get blown out of the music industry because somebody criticized them, I don't have a lot of sympathy for them, but yet on a certain level I do. It's like, because there's room for everybody, and you should be able to play your music and enjoy yourself and not be berated for it,
Jesus loves the little children, all the children of the world. Red and yellow, black and white, they are precious in His sight. Jesus loves the little children of the world.
Everything is beautiful in its own way. like a starry summer night or a snow-covered winter's day. And everybody's beautiful in their own way. Under God's heaven, the world's gonna find a way. There is none so blind as he who will not see. We must not close our minds. We must let our thoughts be free. For every eye that passes by.
Well, and the other thing too is like it reminds me of like the music industry is really small, and like when you think about it, when you're a band and all of you I would say like your classmates come up at the same time. So like with the Streets, whoever was at the same tour schedule as all of them and going on the same thing, like when you see those same people all the time, it's like being in the cafeteria as like a high schooler, and there's the bully who's like always trying to like shut you down, and
Right.
you see them at every festival, and then you're like, well, do I want to do that? Like I worked with a set of Britpop bands that all came up at the same time. I'm not going to
Give me some names. I can play one.
Well, I don't want to say the band name because there's one that I liked. They had huge success, and so
Blur, Pulp,
no,
Verve.
What
were they?
This is that like later, alt J era type stuff.
Okay, right.
And so I brought this other band over to hang with like all the guys that I had worked with a bunch of times, and they were like, "Yeah, don't bring him over. Like we don't like him." And I'm like, "Great, you guys are like the bullies of the classroom." So they all hung together. They were all on all the tour schedules together, and this other band was just left off to the side.
Right.
And they weren't allowed to play with them.
Yeah.
And you're like,
I relate to that so much.
And yeah, but
it wasn't a question of people not liking us. It was a question of, we're not letting you in on our reindeer games, buddy. Like, we're not putting the Dwarves on our punk festival. You fuck you. Yeah. And I've suffered that a lot.
I saw another big band that we mentioned previously, and I got to go backstage and hang with them. And there was another band that was playing, and they were the headliner. Let's just say Bare Naked Ladies. and the other bands, which I won't name, they came over to say hi. And they were like, "Yeah, we want to say hi." And they're like, "We go back to your area. We don't want to hang with you." And
wow.
It's like, wow, did you just mean girl these guys? Like
wait, it was Bare Naked Ladies who wouldn't hang out with anybody?
No. Bare Naked Ladies wanted to hang out. And they're super nice guys, and they were like, "Yeah, we don't want to hang with you."
Right.
It's been 1 week since you looked at me. Got your head to the side and said I'm angry. 5 days since you laughed at me, saying get back together, come back and see me. 3 days since the living room. I realized it's all my fault, but couldn't tell you. Yesterday you'd forgiven me, but it'll still be 2 days till I say I'm sorry.
Hold it now and watch the hoodwink. Does it make you stop think? You'll think you're looking at Aquaman. I summon fish to the dish, although I like the chalet Swiss. I like the sushi cause it's never touch a frying pan. Hot like wasabi when I bust rhymes. Speak like Leanne rhymes because I'm all about value. Bert Camper's got the mad hits. You try to match wits. You try to hold me but I bust through. Gonna make a break and take a fake out like a sink and ink and shake out like vanilla. It's the finest of the flavors. Gonna see the show cause then you'll know the vertigo is gonna go cause it's so dangerous. You'll have to sign a waiver. Can't I help it if I think you're funny when you're mad? Trying hard not to smile though I feel bad. I'm the kind of guy who laughs at a funeral. Can't understand what I mean, well you soon will. I have a tendency to wear my mind on my sleeve. I have a history of taking off my shirt. It's been 1 week since you looked at me. Threw your arms in the air and said you're crazy. 5 days since you tackled me. I still got the red burns on both my knees. It's been 3 days since the afternoon. You realize it's not my fault, but a woman too soon. Yesterday you'd forgiven me, and now I'll sit back and
well, typical because they're Canadian, and Canadians are just fundamentally nicer people than Americans overall.
And it was bruised ego stuff because Bare Naked Ladies was headlining this, and the other band was not headlining, and they felt like they should have been. And I probably would have said they should have been too, but it was
I hate that shit.
But it was just like they were butthurt over it,
right?
And
I hate that shit.
And they didn't want to hang with them. They're like, screw you, you're getting probably twice as much as we're getting, and like that sucks. and I think that's fair.
Well, yeah, and boy, do I have a lot of feelings on that. I mean, when you bring up just being left out of the reindeer games, it's such a bad feeling. And then, of course, with the Dwarves, it was often like the implication was, you're a misogynist or you're a bad person. And, there was an undercurrent of like, oh, I heard these lyrics of yours and I know what a piece of shit you are. And it's like, it's a song, dude, like, relax. And so there was that aspect of it. But yeah, then there's the other aspect of it it's taking money out of your pocket. It's costing you whatever airplay you might get. It's costing you the record deal you might get. It's costing you these things. Like it's I have more respect for hip hop guys who at least diss each other in a fucking song than rock guys who do it all with their managers.
Right.
I can't tell you how many times somebody's manager undercut me because you knew the band said, hey, get rid of these guys, do this. Okay, they're on the bill, but make sure they don't get to play right before us. Okay, they're on the bill. Put it in there that they got to be 20 dB quieter than us. Whatever the fuck it is. Like, and English bands are so bad about this. But American bands too, and metal bands in general, a lot of that bullshit. I mean, I have more respect for hip-hop guys that talk their shit in a track and will shoot you than fucking rock guys and their management shitting on you from behind it. But, I mean, to get back to Lil Peep and the song,
yeah,
because what you say, this guy wound up dying.
Well, but before we go back to that,
you were on Britpop.
No, but I want to talk about when you talk about hip hop. My favorite thing in the world was so on Vomiting Rainbows. We did a couple of episodes about this beef.
It was a podcast that Doug and I did.
Yes.
For those of you who don't.
So one of the things we did an episode on was T-Pain and Drake. And I don't.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So T-Pain is like a Virginia rapper who had a hit a long time ago, wasn't really huge. And then Drake started a beef with him for some reason. T-Pain was like, what? Like, why? Okay, let's do this.
Right. Yeah.
And then T-Pain just started laying it out there and like some sort of black rock, like backdoor knows everything dirt on Drake.
Right.
Like, found out that he had an illegitimate kid with a prostitute in like Vegas and like all this.
That's the only thing I like about Drake.
Yeah, but there was like, and then they kept beefing about this,
right?
And even like Jay-Z and Kanye. When Kanye is a voice of reason in your world, you've got a problem. And like Kanye was telling him to stop beefing with T-Pain, right. And T-Pain like went on whatever World of whatever, the like huge rap station where like everybody talks about like internal
World Star Hip Hop.
Yeah, World Star. So he's on that show and he's like, yeah, if he doesn't stop, I'm gonna unload. And they're like, you haven't unloaded? And he goes, oh no. And I'm like, oh my God, I want to know. And then Drake like squashed the beef. And I'm like, no, don't squash it. I want to hear what T-Pain has. T-Pain, if you listen to this, please tell us what you have. But it was just hilarious because I was like, so when we did our episode on this, I was just waiting for the mic drop for T-Pain, like just Drake, just one more diss at him so that he will drop this, whatever it is. And it was just hilarious because everybody was like, T-Pain went from like, not having huge shows to being at like Treasure Island Music Fest.
Well, the thing he's known the most for now is that whole sort of overdoing auto-tune.
Yeah.
And doing, rapping through that and singing choruses.
It's not T-Pain, it's the Virginia rapper. I'm thinking.
Yeah, because you said T-Pain, and I thought that guy was known for singing lots of choruses.
Yeah,
see, this is what happens when we don't do any research on this show.
It's not him. It's the Virginia rapper.
We're gonna have to figure it out.
Yeah, I'll have to figure it out.
But I mean, my point about the other thing that I don't like about these rappers, and I will generalize about it.
Pusha T. Oh my God.
Beef is best served like steak. Well done, get a gun in your face, bitch nigga. Beef will have you praying to God. Move your kids, have you hiding your mom. Beef is when you hide behind them other niggas, but they ain't killers, they ain't pulling them triggers. Fuck niggas. Beef will have you keying our cars. Heart broke, yours don't look like ours. Them niggas ain't dying for you.
Yeah, them niggas ain't dying for you. Them niggas ain't dying for you.
And we know that. Contract all fucked up. I guess that means you all fucked up. You signed to one nigga, that signed to another nigga, that signed to 3 niggas. Now that's bad luck.
Every time you heard Doug say T-Pain, substitute in Pusha T.
Pusha T.
Yeah. But you know, getting back to this newer rap and do I hate it and why do I hate it? I also feel like there's too much nostalgia. And this gym class thing, I mean, when I'm looking at a guy in a video who's 22,
right, and
he's looking back so nostalgically at gym class. I mean, dude, I'm 57. I can look back nostalgically at gym class, okay? I think there's just a little too much instant nostalgia among these young rappers when they talk about, yo, you know, remember 3 years ago when Drake dropped that track? You know, it's like, no, dude, it's too early for nostalgia. Nostalgia's 20 years and out. You know what I mean? It's like, don't, you know, because even as I looked at the comments on the Peep thing, there's a bunch of people going, yo, I remember this, and the ice cream truck was out, and everybody was doing it, and it's just like, stop with the fucking nostalgia already, man.
Right.
It's embarrassing enough when old people do it. Don't be young and do a bunch of fucking nostalgia for everything. You know what I mean? It's like, it hasn't happened yet, and it just happened. You know?
So there's another girl who came out really recently who had just a blowout hit. Also, I don't know if she was in that SoundCloud. She was in the TikTok generation. And she was looking back fondly to before COVID when she started writing songs. Right. When she was like 14, and then she was 19 when she had her hit, and her name is Gail, and it's ABCFU. You know, it's like this.
I'm going to have to listen to that
So
one.
that's another song, which is
ABCFU. All right.
Yeah,
by Gail. Let's pump it.
Fuck you and your mom and your sister and your job and your broke ass car and that shit you call art. Fuck you and your friends that I'll never see again. Everybody but your dog, you can all fuck off. I swear I meant to mean the best when it ended. Even tried to bite my tongue when you started shit. Now you're texting all my friends, asking questions. They never even liked you in the first place. Dated a girl that I hate for the attention. She only made it 2 days with a connection. It's like you'd do anything for my affection. You're going all about it in the worst ways. I was into you, but I'm over it now. And I was trying to be nice, but nothing's getting through. So let me spell it out. A, B, C, D, E, F, U, and your mom, and your sister, and your job, and your broke ass car, and that shit you call art. Fuck you and your friends that I'll never see again. Everybody but your dog, you can all fuck off.
Yeah, but it's hilarious because we did a pop scene with her, and she got up on stage and she's like, you know, I'm thinking nostalgically from when I'm now 19, and I look back on when I was 14, and I'm like, oh my God.
Well, let's hear it.
Oh.
Okay, that was Gail with ABCDEFU. I'm sure I should have known this song. I'm a sucker for this kind of thing. You knew I was going to like this, right?
Right.
I love profanity, and I love it when people shit on other people, and I'm enjoying this. And I think yes, it's a very predictable way of singing. That new female vocal where it's like, you know, it's very derivative, and yet I like it. I think it fits the moment. And I think, you know, it's just a sort of a kiss off kind of a song.
Right.
I think like a lot of these songs, it might have benefited just from having a little pre-chorus thing that was a little different than the verse that kind of pulled it out and brought you to that hook. But, you know, in these kind of tunes, you generally don't get that. It's kind of, okay, we had a drum machine beat and here's what I did over it. And, you know, I like this kind of thing. I mean, when this kind of thing goes, you know, it doesn't make me feel like, okay, I'm in the presence of a brilliant new artist, but it does make me feel like this is worthwhile to be a little hit today. You know,
Right.
It seemed like a fun song if you're a senior in high school and you're leaving town and you're saying, fuck everybody, you know, that was here. I'm leaving now.
Right.
And I don't need this. I mean, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and so what I would say this is a little bit of a segue, but I think this is the TikTok generation of music, which is what I would say the predecessor to or the later version, successor to the SoundCloud generation, because SoundCloud's dead now,
right?
And this is everybody's getting discovered on TikTok now. And so one of the other ones that I would say is pretty good is this girl Jax, who came out with a song. She used to sing. She would put out TikToks where she'd sing songs to the girls that she babysat. And then she became huge on TikTok through making babysitter songs with her.
Sure.
And so that became kind of her thing. And then I didn't know she was an actual pretty talented artist. And she came out with this song called Victoria's Secret.
I know that one.
Yeah.
I thought that was clever.
Uh-huh.
I thought it was a clever lyrical thing. She said something like, "The secret is it's a guy."
Yeah.
And
it's a 60-year-old man.
Yeah.
Or 80-year-old man.
Yeah. And of course, you know, as a guy who's pushing 60, you know,
Right.
People throw hatred at just the very idea of being a 60-year-old man. It's kind of like, okay, sorry. But,
you're supposed to not like sex anymore.
God, I wish somebody would have told me when I was younger that all bodies aren't the same. Photoshop bitty models on magazine covers told me I was overweight. I stopped eating, what a bummer. Can't have carbs in a hot girl summer. If I could go back and tell myself when I was younger, I'd say, psst, I know Victoria's Secret. Girl, you wouldn't believe she's an old man who lives in Ohio, making money off of girls like me, cashing in the body issues, selling skin and bones with big boobs. I know Victoria's Secret. She was made up by a dude. Victoria was made up by a dude. Victoria was made up by a dude. I wish somebody would have told me that thighs of thunder meant normal human thighs. The fucking pressure I was under to lose my appetite and find
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of kind of funny, freighted things there. But look, I don't blame any female writing lyrics now for writing her "I Need Revenge on Man" song. Because so many songs are that now. I mean, whereas if you were looking at hit songs in 1950, almost all of them were "I love my guy so much." I think now half of the songs that any female does are either, you know, Taylor Swift saying, "If I was a man, I'd get treated better," or Adele saying, you know, "You're a man and you're such a letdown. You let me down. You know, I was great, but we could have had it all," you know. And then of course Billie Eilish, where it's like, you know, I'm a bad girl because you're such a disgusting man, and blah blah, whatever
Right.
it is. You know what I mean? Like that's a very common trope now.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Well, it's also the fact that like everyone from Amy Winehouse to like some of the top artists, Lady Gaga, and all of these really successful artists would have all these horror stories of going into work with these men and either being sexually assaulted or any of these things just because they're considered a fairer sex, and it's unbelievable. It's actually really kind of disgusting.
well, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, nothing disgusts me more than people using that power differential unfairly. But you know, it's funny because I see a cousin to that in what you were talking about earlier with the kind of like weak rapper guys. You know, because a lot of times I think women fail to make the connection that, yes, the guys who have come after you, and in some cases really done horrible things like rape and sexual assault, but in a lot of cases, it's just more like they belittle you, They don't give you the promotion you deserve at work. They don't take the work you've done seriously, right? These kind of guys, they operate the same way with sort of low status males too. They're always pushing them around, kicking them around. I mean, there's a whole segment of guys that have a hard time, some just because they're physically small, some because they're just sort of effeminate in one way or another, or just because they're not assertive. Right, you know, it's like the common denominator is always it's these very aggressive men who are being dicks, but they're not just dicks to women. They're also dicks to men.
Equal opportunity. And it's like that Andrew Tate. I don't know if you followed that guy.
Right, sure. Yeah, the British fighter, like an MMA fighter.
Yeah, but he's like...
who has a whole philosophy about women and how inferior they are and how you have to treat them. Yeah. I'm not impressed with his logic very much. This is a hard one for me because I'm a big guy. I'm a loud guy. I am fairly aggressive. I'm a man. I'm extremely heterosexual. And so it's easy to lump me in with that, especially when you throw in these very aggressive forms of music that I play and then lyrics that some people consider misogynist. I consider them to be misanthropy, just the whole human race can go fuck themselves. But, you know, I've had to grapple with that. It's hard because I don't want to be one of those guys. And yet on paper, in a lot of ways, I am one of those guys. And I did that. The only thing I'd say in my favor is that there were never any kind of Me Too things about me. There were never any, I didn't think, you know, anything that was taken seriously. I think because me and the Dwarves kind of put our shit out there. We had a song. I fucked them all. You know, we weren't trying to hide it. I think what people really hate. Is when, you know, you got these bands like Lost Prophets. I don't know if you remember them. It's like this British kind of very fucking mellow pop band. And then it turned out the guy was this horrible serial child molester, literally like baby fucker, like disgusting human being. And when I saw it, it made perfect sense to me because it's like, I get all that stuff out in my music. Right. I don't need to act that way. And I have a big enough ego that I want a woman to like me. If a woman's not into me, the last thing I want to do is try and have sex with her. You know what I mean? So it's like whereas you see these guys in their mellow band cultivating their mellow thing and being everybody's buddy, and then you hear what a horrible predator they were and these things they do, and it's mind-boggling.
Well, it's like, for example, what's his name from Arcade Fire? He just recently, it came out that he was kind of a terrible guy, and Wayne Butler, but
I hadn't heard about that.
And then you and I did a podcast on Bass Nectar, which remember he got completely, like, one girl posted this guy was trolling me and like sliding into my DMs when I was 14 and like was hooking up with me before then, and I was too young and all of this stuff. And then like 14 other girls came out and were like showing receipts of like all the text messages that he was sending to them too. And then he's Bass Nectar. It's not, he is.
Yeah, it's always nice guys. It's not, they don't go out there and say, I am this scumbag. That's why I have more respect for Andrew Tate, although I don't agree with him. At least he is what he claims to be.
He's a douche.
He has this shitty misogynist thing, but he admits it and says, this is who I am and what I believe. I don't agree with it in any way. But to me, it's even scarier when it's these subterfuge guys, when they got their cutesy pie little music or their safe little art.
Well, but the other thing that I thought was really funny about Bass Nectar was the fact that he's basically a DJ and he makes his own music, but it's him. And he put out a press release that he's stepping away for the good of the band.
Right.
I'm like, isn't it just you? I'm like, who's going to take over Bass Nectar now? So.
We can switch it up like that. Run to the full pack, run to the back. Speakerbox blast go rat-tat-tat-tat. In fact, we
Yeah, and you know, oh boy, we're touching that third rail now that old folks so often do, right? Where we start talking about the modern cancel culture and what it is and what it means, and it's so hard because no one wants to justify people's shitty behavior.
Yeah.
But then there's also that issue of like, you know, can you separate people from their art? Do we do the same thing? Like when I go to the butcher shop to get a cut of meat, do I evaluate the moral fiber of the butcher? You know, if you go to the bike shop to get your chain fixed, do you have to then evaluate, you know, has this guy fixing my bike chain been a good boy? What did he do that might have been bad? You know, I mean, I think with musicians, there's this, we love music so much and we identify with musicians so much, we love them so much that we want them to be something that they're not, you know?
Well, but it's and we brought this up on the podcast, but it's like, you know, Michael Jackson, do you like now have to hate the Jackson 5 because, you know,
Right.
because of his terrible like history.
Right.
And you know,
it wasn't Jermaine's fault.
It wasn't Jermaine, but it's also like the like Wayne Butler. Like I'm not going to dislike, you know, the music that he did under Arcade Fire, which I actually really think is very good, and I'm not going to try and like discount that because of.
I should go back and listen to them because that struck me as a total bullshit shoegazer hype nothing group, and that got a lot of attention. But every time I saw them, it kind of felt like Baby's first song, which I see a lot with like white rock bands a lot, where I just kind of feel like some A&R guy that was white that went to college identified with this, but I don't fucking get it, you know.
Right.
But let's play a track by Arcade Fire. We'll see if I eat my words here. Let me let's listen to one. So we heard Suburbs from Arcade Fire, and then you played me a little snippet of, what was that, Sprawl? Yeah, I'm going to have to eat my words a little bit on this because I really enjoyed both of those and thought they were both pretty good. I guess the issue with me with these guys is that it's always been live when I saw them. I saw them actually live, and I saw them on TV, and I think there's just a lot of people in the band, a lot of shit going on, and it's not really under control. But when it's in these kind of pop surroundings and there's good pop production, I think it works. You know, with this song, Suburbs, I guess if I had to complain about it, it would be it's pretty repetitive and straightforward. And then, you know, you call it a hook because the guy goes to the falsetto there, and that sort of makes it the hook. But, you know, to each his own. I mean, that's like a way of delivering a song. And I saw more to this band than I have previously thought was there as I listened to these couple of songs. So that happens to me all the time. You know, like I'll make a snap judgment on a band, or I'll make a judgment having seen them or just heard one thing or whatever. And then it turns out, oh, well, I kind of like this. This is okay. I mean, honestly, this is not going to become high in my rotation. I think there's a certain kind of, you know, modern, like we're all on pills and we're all kind of falling asleep when we do this quality to this. But again, you know, that's part of why it appeals so much to this era, because we are a tranked out era, and this band kind of epitomizes that and makes sense in that.
One thing that I would say about the reason I played the two songs that I played is because they're extremely different. So like the Suburbs is that tranked out kind of song that you're talking about, which I agree with completely. It's like, I'm in the suburbs, like I'm fucking drowning in mediocrity. And then the other one is, The Sprawl, which is also another song, but it's in that ABBA, like kind of disco-esque era.
Yeah, with the female vocal, I thought was well deployed there.
Right, but the other thing is it shows like the dynamicness of that band, which it's not like radical different from what they're doing when you listen to their whole repertoire, but it shows that they have a very, I think, unique sound. And it also reminds me of another band that I was going to tell you about, which is Naked and Famous, which also reminds me of that last song. In fact, when I heard it, I almost forgot that I used to equate that song with Naked and Famous. So,
Naked and Famous being a song by the Arcade Fire, or Naked and Famous is a different band that I should be
completely
listening
different band.
to? All right,
so
let's listen to some. Wait a minute now, you can't just throw it out there.
Okay.
I have to have some, before I make my snap judgments, I have to have some kind of basis for this. Let me listen to Naked and Famous. We heard the Naked and Famous Youngblood. I don't know. I'm a little underwhelmed there. Sounds a little Muzak-y to me. It's okay. Didn't kill me. I mean, especially, sometimes a band can be cool, but this show is specifically about songs. And so I like it when there's a song that grabs me. And I don't care if all their other songs suck. It's like it's all about that one song. So maybe if I dove into this band a little more, I'd find some more stuff to like and find a song I like. That didn't really kill me, but I can see the similarity with Arcade Fire. It's that same kind of tranked out, it doesn't feel overly processed pop. It feels somewhat homemade, which I like about it.
Well, yeah, that they were definitely that. They were kind of the almost SoundCloud start of SoundCloud generation. They were just before that. They came off of Hype Machine, and they were a start to this new genre of this homegrown electronic music that had that rock element to it,
right?
Which I feel like was it was kind of like a spin off of like 80s synth pop, but it has like this modern twist to it, which probably heavier drums, like a little bit more feminine sound, like obviously her vocals and things like that. And I thought it was very poignant at the time, and I thought it was really well done. I was at South by Southwest, and this was the era of Bastille, like Alt J, as I mentioned before, like a bunch of other like huge bands that were doing that kind of harmonic singing that was really, really talented. Like everybody was kind of coming up with like different niches to like really cool like sounds, and everybody had a very unique sound at that time, which I really appreciated. There was like the Neighborhood, and there was the 1975s.
So it's an era from about 10 years ago?
Yeah, about 10 years ago. Yeah. And so I thought it was just a very unique time where
I was sleeping on that. I have to admit, I was not really hip to that crew of stuff. But Doug, that's why I'm so glad you came by today. You've opened my ears to a bunch of stuff. I made my snap judgments on it.
That's fine.
Yeah, I feel fulfilled, man. I mean,
excellent. That's all we hope for.
If we left it up to me, I'd be sitting around listening to, Cab Calloway and the Wu-Tang Clan all day. Yeah. So I like that people come in like you.
Candy now.
And bring, that's right. And that you bring your experience to this. So we had Doug Dalton in the place to be. I'm Blag the Ripper, and this is Songs and Lyrics.
your side.
I'm on your side.
I'm on your side.
I'm on your side.
I'm on your side. Never leaving you behind.
I'm on your side.
And when we ride,
And when we ride,
or when we
lie,
I won't ask why. I won't tell you lies.
I'm on your side.
I'm by your side in a way you wrong. I'm by your side. You are not alone. And when you're down, you can smile instead of cry. I'm on your side.